Alright guys, so let's talk about how to punish an MMA fighter using pure jiu-jitsu. So this is my first ever pro card event here at Spokane Submission Series, and going into this fight I knew he was MMA, I knew he was wrestler heavy, so I used a lot of specific techniques that wrestlers and MMA fighters don't typically do in their training, so I knew I was going to catch him off guard with that. My initial move pool consists of just using my snap down to kind of feel the waters, test him out a little bit. If I can catch his head in a guillotine like I try right here, that's great, but it doesn't work, so we're moving on to the next thing. Now, the interesting part about this is I was actually drilling the sequence in the hallway, and I've been working on this all week because this is what I was planning to go into, and it's really cool that it worked out. But essentially, we're waiting for this collar tie, and as he grabs my neck, I'm stripping it off, going for this loose Russian tie, and what this will allow me to do is swing into my reverse de la Hiva and instantly attack my Kiss the Dragon. So there is a lot to cover in this, so let's talk about that. So first of all, my Russian tie, I'm using this wrist and elbow grip and it's loose, so I'm not really applying chest pressure because I want to sit back and drag him down with it. And you're going to notice I sit immediately into reverse de la Hiva, and what's going to happen is my opponent's instantly going to posture up. So I let go of the grip and now I'm focusing on getting under his hips. Take my left hand, reach under his knee and drag myself under. Notice my connections here. My right leg is about knee to knee with my opponent and it's rotating his body weight forward. From here, I'm gonna make a connection on his ankle and his far hip. So I'm pulling on that ankle and I'm pulling on his hip, and that's keeping me connected. But also something interesting with the ankle, the closer his legs are together, the higher his hips are gonna be. So you're gonna kind of see me use my right hand here to open his legs a little bit, and that in turn drops his hips down. My left foot is actually ironically keeping his hips off the ground, but the purpose of that is I want to keep his feet off the floor but still keep his hips close to me. So I'm lifting his hips up and pulling that right leg out so his feet can't touch the floor, he stays off balance, but I'm also able to get closer to his hips. So this is kind of the pit stop of the Kiss the Dragon. From this point, once you make these connections and once you establish your opponent being off balanced, our next goal is torso control. So there's still so much that can happen without connecting ourselves to the torso, and this is something my coach at Matt Chess talks about a lot, is scramble positions aren't over until we achieve torso control. So what's going to happen next is my opponent's going to lean back trying to run out of the Kiss of the Dragon, and the only thought in my head, create grips around the upper body. So in this scenario, as my opponent goes to lean back, I notice his shoulder drops low enough for me to collect this scoop grip here with my right arm, and my left hand moves up high on the hip. Now, something very unique here that I'm sure a lot of beginners are going to miss is I'm not trying to attack his back from this position. You see how his hips are facing out instead of aligning more with my spine? If I were to try to throw in hooks here, he would be able to scramble out and get back into close guard. So I'm more so trying to focus on following him and maintaining my chest to back connection. Once my chest is resting on his back, that's when I start attacking hooks. And you're gonna see that as we rotate over, okay, now my chest is more so on his back, now I can start attacking hooks. You're gonna see me throw my bottom hook in, and my top hook is gonna be resting on the top of his back. Now I came out a little high, so it was a little bit of a struggle to get that top hook in, but eventually I'm able to find my balance, work myself a little more backwards, and get that top hook in. So while it wasn't the prettiest Kiss of the Dragon, the two main things I was focusing on there was one, getting under his hips and, getting to the backside. And once I reached that point, we're trying to get to torso connection as fast as possible, and then we can rest and we've won the scramble. So eventually I worked my way up to a full body triangle, and just outside of the technical aspect, I really took this moment in. I'm in a very dominant position. I feel very comfortable, and I'm kind of just looking around like, damn, this is so cool. I've finally reached this level. And after that, I asked the ref, I'm like, hey, our face attack in the face, is that legal? And he nods his head yes. So I just threw a rear naked attack over his jaw. So I'm not really having much success from this position, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my right hand here and post behind his elbow, then pull on his left wrist and rock myself off to the side, getting us to fall. And from here I can attack rear naked chokes and other attacks from the back a little bit easier than if we were squared up on his knees. So in all honesty, I probably spent about 4 total minutes on his back, and I could not find a choke or anything else. So eventually, as the referee sets us back into the middle of the mat, I'm going to scoot off to the side, and I can feel myself start to fall off. So I opt to go for one of my signature moves, and it would have been awesome if I'd hit this in my first pro event, but I'm going to attack the sunsetter triangle. So I try to post my foot on the floor, hip into him, and throw my leg over the head. But he shut that one down pretty quickly, making sure not to post out too far and getting his hand back in time to block my leg from coming over. And now I'm sat in a close guard. So I really do not like close guard, especially from a YouTube perspective. It's just kind of boring to watch and it looks pretty gay. So I'm looking to, obviously attack that hip bump triangle sunsetter once again. But after that doesn't work, I know, I have to start finding different ways of attacking. So eventually start to posture up and I swing my legs into daily hiva here. And this has been one of my favorite sweeps recently. Essentially what I'm doing is I'm using these wrist grips and my feet to load his weight on top of me and bring both of his feet off the ground. From here, as I do this, the foot comes closer to my butt, so I'm able to grab it with my hand, and now I'm going to try to extend him away. But as he pulled himself back into me to try to catch his balance, I noticed he overextended his left arm a little too far into deep water, so I'm going to go ahead and make a grip on that and then pull him into a triangle. Notice my right knee here is going to push against his hip, which creates the space for that leg to come free, and then from here, I'm just locking up the triangle. My left arm is immediately going to shoot under the thigh, which gains angle, and then I'm making sure to focus on keeping his posture down. So my right arm is grabbing his head, pulling his head to look down to the floor as my legs adjust and make the triangle tighter. He's going to attempt to step over my leg, but my left hand is monitoring that and pulling the leg back to shelf it on my shoulder. From here, I know it's tight, I know I got the tap, and I'm just enjoying the moment for my first ever pro event win. But genuinely, if you guys made it to the end, thank you guys for watching. If you learned something, please feel free to give the video a like and subscribe to the channel to help me do jiu-jitsu full time.